Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Deving Sarasating Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye Nashtaprayesu Abhadreshu Nittang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 7, scheduled incarnations, text 14. Trai Pishto Poru Bhayaha Sa Nrishingha Rupam Kritva Brahmad Bhrukuti Dangshtra Karala Bhaktram Daitendram Ashu Gadaya Bhipatantam Arad Urau Nipatya Bidadara Nakhai Sfurantam. Traipishto Poru Bhayaha Nrishingha Rupam Kritva Brahmad Bhruputi Dangshra Karala Vaktram Daitendramashu Gadaya Bhipatantamara Uro Nipatya Bidadara Nakhai Sfurantam. Traipishta Parubhaya Hasan Singha Rupam Kritva Brahmad Bhrukuti Dangshra Karala Vaktram Daitendramashu Gadaya Bhipatantamara Uro Nipatya Bidadara Nakhai Sfurantam. Traipishtoporu Bhayahasan Singha Rupam Kritva Brahmad Bhrukuti Dangshra Karala Bhaktram Daitendramashu Gadaya Bhipatantamara Uro Nipatya Bidadara Nakhai Sfurantam. Traipishtapa, the demigods, Uru Bhayaha, one who vanquishes great fears. Saha, he, the personality of Godhead. Nrishingha Rupam, assuming the incarnation of Nrishingha. Kritva, doing so, Brahmat, by rolling, Bhrukuti, eyebrows, Dangshtra, teeth, Karala, greatly fearful, Bhaktram, mouth, Daitya Indram, the king of the demons, Ashu, immediately, Gadaya, with club in hand, Abhipatantam, while falling down, Arat, nearby, Uro, on the thighs, Nipatya, placing on, Bidadara, pierced, Nakhai, by the nails, Sfurantam, while challenging. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The personality of Godhead assumed the incarnation of Nrsingadev in order to vanquish the great fears of the demigods. He killed the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, who challenged the Lord with a club in his hand. He placed the demon on his thighs and pierced him with his nails, rolling his eyebrows in anger and showing his fearful teeth and mouth. Please repeat after me. The personality of Godhead assumed the incarnation of Nrsingadev in order to vanquish the great fears of the demigods. He killed the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, who challenged the Lord with a club in his hand. By placing the demon on his thighs and piercing him with his nails, rolling his eyebrows in anger, and showing his fearful teeth and mouth. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The history of Hiranyakashipu and his great devotee son, Prahlad Maharaj, is narrated in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hiranyakashipu became very powerful by material achievements and thought himself to be immortal by the grace of Brahmaji. Brahmaji declined to award him the benediction of immortality because he himself is not an immortal being. But Hiranyakashipu derived Brahmaji's benediction in a roundabout way, almost equal to becoming an immortal being. Hiranyakashipu was sure that he would not be killed by any man or demigod or by any kind of known weapon, nor would he die in day or night. The Lord, however, assumed the incarnation of half man and half lion, which was beyond the imagination of a materialistic demon like Hiranyakashipu. And thus, keeping pace with the benediction of Brahmaji, the Lord killed him. He killed him on his lap, so that he was killed neither on the land, nor on the water, nor in the sky. The demon was pierced by Nrsingadev's nail, which were beyond the human weapons imaginable by Hiranyakashipu. The literal meaning of Hiranyakashipu is one who is after gold and soft bedding, the ultimate aim of all materialistic men. Such demoniac men who have no relationship with God gradually become puffed up by material acquisition and begin to challenge the authority of the Supreme Lord and torture those who are devotees of the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj happened to be the son of Hiranyakashipu, and because the boy was a great devotee, his father tortured him to the best of his ability. In this extreme situation, the Lord assumed the incarnation of Nrsingadev And just to finish the enemy of the demigods, the Lord killed Hiranyakashipu in a manner beyond the demon's imagination. Materialistic plans of godless demons are always frustrated by the all-powerful Lord. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitang Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishthang Sthapitang Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaiham Dadati Swapadantikam Bandehang Shri Guru Shri Jutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupang Sagrajatang Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Twang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Taptu Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Bancha kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhaivacha patitanang pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Traipishto Porubhayaha Sanrisingha Rupam Kritva Brahmad Bhrukuti Dangshra Karala Vaktram Daitendra Mashu Gadaya Bhipatanta Marad Duroi Nipatta Vidadara Nakhai Sfurantam. The personality of Godhead assumed the incarnation of Nrsingadev in order to vanquish the great fear of the demigods. He killed the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, who challenged the Lord with a club in his hand. By placing the demon on his thighs and piercing him with his nails, rolling his eyebrows in anger and showing his fearful teeth and mouth. So, this chapter is entitled as the scheduled incarnations, different incarnations of the Lord at different times. Especially in a day of Brahma. They are scheduled, they appear, various incarnations, in a systematic order, but their pastimes may differ a little bit. In this respect, it has been pointed out, just like our days are more or less the same, but still every day is different. Like if we consider how is our day, then we can say, well, we get up around 3:30 in the morning, take bath, attend Mangalarati, chant our rounds, and so forth. But although we are doing the same things every day, but is every day the same? No. Every day is different. So similarly, in Brahma's day, different things happen in a scheduled system, scheduled order, but each day of Brahma is different. That is the cause of variegatedness. So the the personality of Godhead appeared as Lord Nrsingadev. His Nrsinga incarnation is being explained or being described. We all are very familiar with Nrsingadev. We may not be so well acquainted with all the incarnations of the Lord. But Nrsingadev's incarnation, we are very well acquainted. Every day we chant Nrsingadev's prayer at least a few times. Tabo karo kamalo bade nakham adbhuta shringam dalita hiranyakashipu tanu bhringam keshava dhrita narahari rupa jai jagadisha. So this is the description of Nrsingadev by Jayadev Goswami. This is at the beginning of Gita Govindam. He offered his prayers to 10 incarnations. And here Brahmaji is describing different incarnations of the Lord to Narad Muni. Narad, he is describing how wonderful the Lord is and how wonderful He appears at different times to perform different pastimes. In Bhagavad Gita also Krishna explained that point. Why does He come? Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamma. Whenever there is a dharmasya glani, glani means deterioration. When there is a when the dharma becomes, when there is a decline of dharma, the religious principles. And abhuttanam, abhuttan means uprise, adharmasya. When there is a decline of religious principles and increase of irreligiosity, then in order to re-establish dharma samsthapanarthaya, sambhavami yuge yuge, Krishna appears from time to time, yuge yuge, in different yugas, at different times. And how that is done? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. Paritranaya sadhunam. He protects the sadhus. Who are the sadhus? Sadhus means devotees. Devotees are the sadhus. Those who accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His authority is a sadhu. And those who do not, they are asadhus or demons. Krishna also mentioned that when the demons cause distress to the demigods, Indradi Vyakulam Loke Mrirayanti Yuge Yuge. Indra Ari. Or Indra is the king of the demigods. And Ari means an enemy. When the enemies of the king of the demigods, enemies of Indra, who are the enemies of Indra? The demons are the enemies of Indra. And he comes to re-establish the authority of the demigods. As I mentioned yesterday, like sometimes the demons become more powerful than the demigods. Jai Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki. What is the basic identity of a demigod and a demon? The demigod's identity is that a demigod is submissive to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. Those who are submissive to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are devas or suras. And those who do not accept the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are asuras. And there is always a conflict between the suras and asuras. And this conflict sometimes becomes very, very intense, especially when the asuras become more powerful. When the suras or demigods are in control, then the affairs of the material nature go on very well, very systematically. Why? Because that is the normal condition, that is the natural arrangement of the Supreme Lord. The natural arrangement is that like anybody, when he is organizing a structure and making arrangements, what he would do? Like for example, in this temple, what is the arrangement we made? There is an authority structure. There are two co-presidents, then there are departments and the departmental heads, and we also have a temple commander, and that is the system. And what they do, they see that the affairs of the temple go on nicely. And they are the devotees in that system, in the temple, the devotees are happily situated. Now if somebody comes from outside and does not want to accept the authority of the temple, the authority structure of the temple, and he kicks out the temple presidents and takes over the power, then what will happen? And if that person does not accept the authority structure all the way, he does not accept the authority structure of Krishna, what will happen to the temple? He will say that this temple is not for Krishna devotees, this temple is for the non-devotees. Then what will happen? The deity worship will stop. Now first of all, if he takes over the power, drives the devotees out, then what will happen? They will use this facility not for the deities' pleasure, not for the propagation of Krishna consciousness. They will use it. At that time what will happen? The deity worship will stop. Nobody will offer bhoga to the deities. They will cook for themselves. They'll use the kitchen. They'll use all the facilities for their enjoyment. And as a result of that, there will be complete chaos. So in the universal affair, like we can consider, what is the universe like? The universe is like a temple. The Krishna, in normal condition, in this universe, Krishna is worshipped as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the departmental heads are the demigods. And they are the appointed agents of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there are different departments, and their business is to take care of those departments. And all the affairs of this universe is actually meant for the glorification of Krishna, Narayana. But then the demons come, some from time to time. They say, why the demigods are enjoying the facilities? We will take over. That was the argument of Bali Maharaj. They said that we are cousins. Our line also comes from the same, our line and the demigods' lines, the Adityas, they all are coming from the same Daityas and Adityas. Diti's sons and Aditi's sons. Aditi's sons are Adityas or the demigods, and Diti's sons are Daityas. Now the Daityas were given the place in the lower region of the universe. The lower region means the region where light doesn't enter, the sunlight doesn't enter. And the demigods, Indra, headed by Indra, they were situated in the heavenly planets. And they considered that this is unfair, this is a partial thing. We are coming from the same line, we are cousins. Look, they are having such wonderful facilities, and us, we are given the lower dirty place of the to stay. They didn't consider, because their mentality is dirty, that's why they are given a dirty place. One gets his situation according to his mentality. Because they are not submissive to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they don't have the proper facilities as those who are devotees of the Lord enjoy. So Bali challenged Indra that, okay, whoever is more powerful will have heavenly kingdom. And Bali defeated Indra. But of course, ultimately, Lord appeared as Vamandev. That description also will come here. And he took the kingdom away from Bali and reinstated his authority structure. His authority structure. So that is the important thing to remember. And in this way, by hearing different pastimes of the Lord and developing faith in those pastimes, we get to understand the benefit of becoming a devotee and the disadvantage of defying the authority of the Lord. Now the choice is ours. Choice is ours. Sometimes people question, if Krishna is God, then why Krishna allowed us to be in this situation? Why Krishna did not stop us from coming to this situation, suffering condition? Why Krishna is causing us to suffer? Here we have to understand that that's the difference between being an inert object and living being. Living means we have our freedom to think. We have our freedom to decide. But if we are always guided and dictated and controlled, then we'll become like inert, no will of our own. We are always just controlled by somebody. Yes, Krishna is the supreme controller, but at the same time Krishna has given us the independence. Why this independence? This independence is simply to decide for ourselves whether we will accept Krishna or reject Krishna. That is the only independence we actually have. Yes, we have independence, but that independence is simply to make this decision, whether we are going to accept Krishna or whether we are going to defy Krishna. And if we accept Krishna, then we enjoy. And when we reject Krishna, then we suffer. Now, if we didn't have this independence, then we could not actually have this ability to decide whether we could not develop our loving relationship with Krishna. Love is something that cannot be forced. And Krishna wants to develop a loving relationship with us. Therefore, Krishna has given that independence. So ultimately, it is a consideration of whether we are going to love Krishna or not love Krishna. So if we don't love Krishna, then what happens? If we don't love Krishna, then we love ourselves. Love is there, and the only choice is whether we're going to offer that love to Krishna or whether we're going to keep the love for ourselves. And when we do not want to offer that love to Krishna, then that love is projected onto other objects. And the motivation becomes our sense gratification. So in this way, we can see that ultimately the consideration is whether we are going to lead our life centered around I, or whether we're going to lead our lives centered around Krishna. False ego causes us to lead our life with I in the center. But actually it should be Krishna in the center. And the moment we put I in the center, then we want to enjoy through our false identity. And what is the false identity? The false identity is stemming from the subtle body and the gross body. The subtle body consisting of mind, intelligence and false ego, and the gross body consisting of the 5 different elements. So, the ultimate consideration is actually that, whether I should be the center or Krishna should be the center. Now, we have voluntarily accepted a life with Krishna in the center. That's why this institution is known as the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, where our consciousness should be. We should be conscious about who? Krishna or I? And you can see most of the time what is happening, we have developed a tendency to put ourselves or that I in the center. I am. it'll be interesting to note how often our activities are motivated by this I. The I means the false identity. It's not that we get rid of our I continues to exist, but the consideration is whether I am the enjoyer or whether I am the servant. Now, the difference is that the servant doesn't put himself in the center. The servant puts the master in the center. Whatever he does, because he's a servant, whatever he does is for the sake of the master. And his life revolves around his master's pleasure, master's will. Therefore, in a way, to be Krishna conscious means replace the I with Krishna. Remove the I and put Krishna. Try doing that. Don't use the word I, use Krishna instead. It's interesting, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he used to see the article written by his disciples and his main concern, and sometimes he would simply see how many times Krishna's name and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's name has been used in the article. The more it was Krishna's name, the better he considered the article to be. He appreciated the article according to the time Krishna's name has been used in that article. So we can see that. So this is the consideration of our Acharya. Sometimes somebody, one of our god brothers, once when Prabhupada was mentioning that, he mentioned, what if he wrote just nothing but Krishna and Krishna? Then Prabhupada said that would have been the perfection of the article. Because ultimately it is all we have to come to Krishna, and he should be the center of everything. Just Krishna. And especially, it should be done with a proper understanding. Replace the I with Krishna. Remove the I and bring Krishna there. So many times we consider like, I am this, I am that. Now let us consider how many times do you think about Krishna? I am hungry, my health is not good, my body is aching. But how many times we consider whether Krishna offering has been made to Krishna? Did Krishna eat? Is Krishna dressed properly today? Is Krishna feeling good? Is Krishna looking beautiful? Is Krishna happy? Is Krishna... So Krishna consciousness means to lead our lives with Krishna in the center. And that will be our ultimate perfection. Does it mean that a devotee should become like a zombie? No. A devotee leads his life with Krishna in the center. Devotee is always chanting Krishna's name, Krishna's glory. Sometimes people think that the devotees are like zombies. They're just doing something, but they do not know the state of his consciousness. They simply see the external happening, but they don't see the consciousness. Go deep into devotee's heart. What will you find? He's so happy. Internally, he's so happy. He's so joyful. He's so dynamic internally. Externally, he may look like an unintelligent person dressed in a strange way, acting in a strange way, behaving in a strange way, reacting in a strange way. That is all external. But when you go internally, when you go inside a devotee's heart, what will you find? The more devoted to Krishna he is, more brilliant he is internally. That the materialistic people will not be able to understand. But those who come close to them, they will see. What do they see? Whenever they come to a devotee, what do we see? When we come to advanced devotees, what do we see? We see that we are feeling happy. Just being in the association, we feel happy. Even though the devotee chastises us, still we feel happy. Even though a devotee chastises us, we want to be in his association. Especially, as I was discussing yesterday, when a spiritual master has to deal with his disciples, he has to be strict, he has to be he has to chastise, he has to correct, he has to rectify. Like Prabhupada, although Prabhupada had a very sweet and soft side, naturally Prabhupada was very sweet and soft, but Prabhupada had another side where he was very strict, especially those who were close to him. Prabhupada used to chastise them so often. Sometimes people cannot understand why the devotees are like that. They think that the sadhu means he is quiet, he doesn't talk, he smiles nicely, sweetly, and that's a sadhu. But Prabhupada, when people came close to Prabhupada, often they saw that Prabhupada was not that kind of sadhu. He is with a smile in his face, he is not speaking sweetly all the time. Rather, Prabhupada had a very fiery side. Prabhupada often displayed that very, very fiery personality. But why Prabhupada was like that? Because Prabhupada was not here just to please some people. Prabhupada was here to establish something. Therefore he had to be strong, he has to be firm. And whenever devotees made mistakes, Prabhupada was heavy. He would chastise them. I heard of one incident that some devotees in Los Angeles, the leaders of Los Angeles temple, made a big blunder about something, management blunder. Prabhupada called them, two of them. They were big leaders at that time, these two disciples of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada to chastise them so heavy that finally when Prabhupada told them to leave, they didn't have the strength to get up and leave. They became unable to move. They were unable to move. Then Prabhupada shouted at them, asking them to leave. And they couldn't stand up. They kind of crawled out of the room. They couldn't stand up and walk out of the room. They, with hands and feet, they crawled out of the room. So that is how heavy Prabhupada used to be. But at the same time, Prabhupada was very, very soft. About that also there is another very beautiful incident that Prabhupada was in Amsterdam, and Amsterdam had a small temple, and Amsterdam those days was the most spaced out place actually. Amsterdam was a place where marijuana was legal. So all the hippies used to go to Amsterdam, and the whole place was very degraded. Anyway, but still we had a temple there, and so Prabhupada went, and one of the things that Prabhupada did during that time was to give initiation. And when Prabhupada came to the temple room where he was supposed to give initiation, he found that the arrangements they made for initiation was not to his satisfaction. So Prabhupada just started to chastise the devotees, why this hasn't been done, why that hasn't been done. And Prabhupada was in a very annoyed mood. And then Prabhupada noticed that there was no fruits in that Jagga altar, Jagga Vedi. So Prabhupada shouted, "Where are the fruits? Why there is no fruits?" So one devotee immediately ran down to the kitchen, and he came back after a little while with a bowl full of cut fruit. So Prabhupada became even more angry. So one kind of a hippie kind of a boy used to come to the temple. He was not a devotee. He used to come to the temple. And for a long time he was coming, so he knew the devotees and the way they do things. And he noticed that whenever somebody would become agitated, a devotee would ask him, "Why don't you chant Hare Krishna?" So that is the way to cool down. Why don't you chant Hare Krishna? So this hippie asked Prabhupada, "Why don't you chant Hare Krishna?" And Prabhupada, he pulled out his beads, took his bead bag, took the beads, and he started to chant Hare Krishna. So you can see that Prabhupada would take an advice even from a hippie, if the advice was suitable. And once Prabhupada chastised me very heavily. Not once, Prabhupada chastised me very heavily, most of the times. And like once a god brother of mine, who was also close to Srila Prabhupada, and he was a leader, very big leader of our movement at one time. And he was a close friend of mine. So he was telling me that he never got chastised by Srila Prabhupada. And I told him that I got chastised by Srila Prabhupada most of the times. And then he stopped for a moment, made him think for a moment. And he told me, "You know why Prabhupada didn't chastise me? Because Prabhupada knew that my false ego was so inflated that I won't be able to take his chastisement." So, and he told me that I was so fortunate. Today at that time, he could realize that it was actually unfortunate of him that he was not chastised by Srila Prabhupada. So he was telling me that you are so fortunate that you have been chastised by Srila Prabhupada. And because spiritual master's only concern is how to make his disciple into a good devotee. And to be a good devotee means to be rid of false ego. We have to get rid of our false ego in order to become properly situated in our spiritual identity. And spiritual master takes it upon himself to destroy our false ego. So that's why we find that only the Vaishnavas are sadhus of that caliber, that category, especially the Gauriya Vaishnavas. They have this heavy side because they consider that their business is like that of a doctor, to cure the patients. Normally people come and give a child a candy. And the child is happy. Oh, he gave me a candy, he's so nice. But when the child is sick and the doctor comes, does the doctor give him candy? No. He gives him medicine that tastes bitter. The child doesn't want to take it. But somehow it has to be given. The doctor comes, what to speak of a bitter medicine, he even gives injection. I remember when I was young, to me, two most frightening personalities were the policeman and the doctor, our family doctor. Although I used to call him my uncle, address him as uncle, because he was a family doctor. Whenever somebody became sick, he came and he was like a family member. But he was not like other uncles. Because he would... So the devotees are like that, especially preachers. They are like doctors. They have to go and cure the people's suffering condition, the diseased condition. So, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, although he is so beautiful, although he is so wonderful, although he is Kripamaya, most merciful, Karuna Sindhu, Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu, an ocean of mercy. But then again, Krishna has another feature. Tabo kara kamala vade nakham adbhuta shringam. That is also another feature of Krishna, the fierce form of Krishna. So although he is merciful, most compassionate, but at the same time he has this very, very karala dangstra, karala bhaktram, his extremely frightening face. So that is also Krishna. Although he is the enchanter of Cupid, but at the same time he is Jad Vibheti Swayam Bhayam. He causes fear to fear personified. That is his identity. And that's why it's so important that we understand the purpose of the incarnations. And when you go into the purpose, why the Lord incarnates, then it becomes clear. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya dushkrita. Yes, he is wonderful to the sadhus, those who are submissive to Krishna. He is wonderful. Those who are not Krishna is very, very fierce. So we have to recognize that point and act accordingly. And what is the intelligent thing to do? To surrender. He is omniscient, omnipotent. He knows everything. He is all-powerful, and He is present everywhere. Although we are not able to see Him, but He is seeing us. So let's act with that understanding. That He is watching us. Therefore, let us be careful how we are behaving. Let us behave in the right way. And accepting Krishna means accepting His arrangement. Accepting Krishna means accepting His authority and His line of authority. Hare Krishna, Gaur Premanande, Hare. Does anybody have any question? Yes, Dina?
How does a disciple get free from false ego if he doesn't get chastised?
If he doesn't get chastised, if one accepts if one gets rid of his false ego voluntarily and submits, then there is no problem. But when the false ego prevails and the spiritual master sees, then what should the spiritual master do? Should the spiritual master flatter the disciple? No, he should correct. He may sometimes give a sugar-coated medicine, but the sugar is just the coating. The real medicine is not the sugar candy. So that is the important consideration. That when, not only to the spiritual master, in our basic life, in our devotional life, we have to become humble. We have to become submissive. Initially it is difficult to become submissive and humble. Therefore, at least to some people we have to become submissive and accept their authority. And accepting their authority means accepting their correction, rectifying measures. That is the meaning of accepting the authority. Not that I'll accept your authority only when you give sugar candy, only when you give me candy. I won't accept your authority when you give me the bitter medicine. That's not accepting the authority. Accepting the authority means opening ourselves to them, submitting ourselves to them, and accepting whatever they're prescribing.
Evaluated an article based on the number of times Lord Krishna has been used. We see today in present scenario quite a few preachers they preach Krishna consciousness to an audience which is not really acquainted with Krishna consciousness. It is a practice not to directly speak about Krishna in the beginning at least. It is speak about some indirect topic and when at a particular stage when they are ready to accept, then they come about Krishna. So such a thing where we may not apparently find the name of Krishna, should that also be evaluated in the same way, or is that also as well as any direct topic of Krishna?
Well, the first consideration is that a preacher must know how to present the topic. Preacher is expert, and a good preacher has to be an expert. And so according to the audience, he will make the presentation and make the point. But at the same time, we should not be afraid to present Krishna consciousness. We should not be ashamed of our identity as a devotee. Like I mean, we dress ourselves like a devotee, so why should I hide our identity? Everybody knows that we are Krishna devotees. That also reminds me of one incident. One boy that was in France, maybe Madhavendra Puri knows that incident. A devotee went to distribute books dressed in karmi clothes, and he went and went to somebody. I think it was a shopkeeper or some. And so he said he's coming to give spiritual, these books are spiritual books and things. And then the shopkeeper and his wife, especially his wife, he said, no, we don't need these books. Because we got some books from somebody who is a real practitioner, and he gave some books and we're reading those books and we don't need any other books now on that. Because then he wanted to see those books, and he found out it's the same books, but it was given by somebody who came dressed as a devotee. And the people were so impressed by him that that he didn't want to deal with that other person who came dressed up as hiding his identity. You knew about that one?
Who is that?
No, I know who it was, but the incidents you remember. Was it a shopkeeper or?
Yes, but I forgot when
Yeah, I forgot his name. Like that very strong. I mean, that with whom it happened was that French devotee. He was in Paris. He was a very passionate devotee. Strong, very strong built body he had. Ram Vijay. Ram Vijay actually told me about that incident. It happened with him. And so that is how, people, when they see us, they, either they accept us or reject us. So those who will accept us, they'll be open to listen to what we have to say. And we also have to remember that Prabhupada didn't make any compromise. Prabhupada didn't name this society as the International Society for God Consciousness. Prabhupada named it as International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And when Prabhupada was told about that, Prabhupada said, no, I have come here to remind everybody that God is Krishna. Krishna is God. You do not know who God is. I know. So, and Prabhupada also preached to all kinds of people. Prabhupada didn't make any compromise. Prabhupada preached to the Christian missionaries. Prabhupada preached to the scientists. Prabhupada preached to the politicians. But Prabhupada just stuck to one point. Krishna is God. And you must surrender that to Him. If you don't, you won't be able to solve the problems of your lives. Rather, your problems will keep on increasing. Any other question?
Much you spoke about putting Krishna in the center. So how can we overcome the tendency that on the pretense of doing something for Krishna, we actually do it for us? For example, when I cook for my deities, I cook the things I like to eat. I offer incense, or I...
Yeah, okay. First is, when it comes to cooking, you may be cooking according to your taste and according to your need. But at least offer it to Krishna. So, and then gradually what will happen is you'll start to cook for Krishna's pleasure. And you're dressing Krishna for the way you like, that's fine. Dressing is according to your taste, but eating will be done according to Krishna's taste. There is an expression in Hindi, Aap ruchi khana, par ruchi parna. You eat according to your taste and dress according to others. So when you're dressing Krishna, you can dress Krishna according to your taste. But it's better when you're cooking, you can cook for Krishna's taste. But then also, Krishna likes everything that is cooked nicely. If it is cooked in a bona fide way, and if it tastes good, Krishna will appreciate. You may cook according to your taste, but then again the question is, what is Krishna's taste? If you want to cook according to Krishna's taste, then what is Krishna's taste? Right? So, since you do not know what Krishna's taste is, at least you cook according to your taste, but make sure that it tastes good. And don't give medicines to Krishna. He doesn't. Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gaur